So when we look at the midpoint of a segment, what we are looking for is a point that divides the segment into two congruent segments. So if you remember, when we talk about a midpoint, what we are looking at is the fact that M should be right in the middle. This is the middle of our segment, and so that would make these two segments congruent to each other. Since I have the labels here, we would say that AM equals MB. Now, just like distance, there's actually a formula for finding a midpoint where we would do the same idea where I would have an x1, y1 and an x2, y2, and I would have an x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and a y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And what we're doing when we find a midpoint is we're actually just averaging the x's and averaging the y's. You might remember hearing before the word average or mean, where you have the values and you add them up and divide by what you have, or the number of values that you have. That's all we're doing when we do the midpoint. So for example, if I want to do x1 plus x2, I would have a negative 2 plus a 10, and then you divide it by 2. So a negative 2 plus a 10 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So what I found is that the x of my midpoint is 4. And then you just repeat for the y. So my y is a 4 and a 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, or you could leave it as a 5 divided by 2. But the thing that people miss out with the midpoint is that's actually your final answer. It's the point for 2.5, which if I looked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2.5 is right here, the middle of the line. Now, remember in the last video on distance formula, we actually took a shortcut using Desmos. So let's go ahead and do the same shortcut here. So if you remember in this video, we had our A set up and our B set up. These points are the same. Now, I'm just going to go over one more time how we enter those in. If I want to enter a point and see where it is, I can say A is negative 2, comma 4, and close the parentheses, and that point pops up. And I can see B is 10, 1, and that point pops up. Now, if I want distance, I type out distance. Now I want midpoint. So I'm actually going to type out the words midpoint and do A, comma B. And if you look, this is the only problem. Remember, when you do distance formula in Desmos, it actually spits out an answer for you. It gives you a number right here that counts as your distance. What you have to look at with midpoint is when you look over here, see this new blue point that's here. You have to click on that point, and there is my answer. There is the 4, 2.5. That is the midpoint. Now, my recommendation to you guys while you're working through the activities for this unit is keep the midpoint A, comma B here, and just change your points as you go. So let's say I wanted to find the midpoint of two different points. I could say between 5, 5, 10 and negative 4, 3. Any points you want, you can change what A and B are represented by. And if you leave this midpoint down here, then see it just moves the midpoint around for you and gives you the answer each time without you having to type all 3 lines in every single time. And that also works for distance. So if I wanted to, I could change this to say distance. And now it's telling me that the length of this segment is an 11.5.